We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live.
And the haters can't stand it. What is Jaron Boots Ennis gonna do? I'm gonna break down the welterweight landscape in this video. Stay tuned. I got a lot to talk about. I know some of the people, they mad because Boxing Ego be cooking. I know y'all didn't want me to be right, but what is Jaron Boots Ennis gonna do? Now, I want to give a quick preface to what I'm saying. Now, I'm the best in the business. That goes without saying, and it's not even close. I told you I've always followed Boots' career. I like Jaron Ennis' fight style. But the decision to sign to Eddie Hearn left me with questions. Those questions haven't been answered. Your boy Ego hasn't been proven wrong. If anything, the way it's looking, it looks like I was proven right, and we'll get to that. So first, let me tell you guys and kind of show you the overall landscape of the division. And I think it'll paint a better picture. So I made this, it's a tweet. Make sure you guys follow me. It says welterweight champions per promotion. And I think this is important. Terrence Crawford pretty much officially moved up to 154 pounds. Eddie Hearn also went on and he said in interviews that he don't even know if Crawford is going to fight again. Crawford may very well only want the Canelo fight. He's looking for a big payday, and that could be that. So per promotion, Matchroom, Rematch Room as I call it, has Jaron Boots Ennis for the IBF. PBC has Mario Barrios for the WBC and the Mantis Stanionis, which was announced yesterday, for the WBA. Top Rank, Brian Norman Jr. for the WBO. Which leads me to my point. Notice both Top Rank and Rematch Room both have a champion, but they have no other champions, or frankly, as far as I'm concerned, they don't really have any other welterweight names. You have to understand that certain divisions will be popping in the sport of boxing. And then out of nowhere, people either lose, retire, and or move up in weight and move on with their career. And then out of nowhere, that glamour division will be a dormant division. We've seen it recently with middleweight. There was a point in time where middleweight had attractive fights. Canelo was there. Jermall Charlo was there. Demetrius Andrade was there. Triple G was still, around. So Chris Eubank, I believe, was there. So you had some attractive options where you could mix and match middleweights where they didn't happen. I'm not saying the fights happened, but I'm saying the landscape of the division was to the point where Canelo could have fought Andrade. Canelo could have fought Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo could have fought Andrade, so on and so forth. We could have got Charlo, Chris Eubank Jr. We could have got Charlo versus Triple G. So there was a round robin that could have been done. Due to different circumstances, that wasn't done. Now you look at middleweight and it's not really cracking. You got Janibek, you got Carlos Adames. You don't really have any star power, like big names that are like actively fighting and things like that. Same thing with the welterweight. Historically, the welterweight division has been popping, and PBC ran the welterweight division with most of the talent not named Terrence Crawford, who was at that point, he was with Top Rank. So Jaron Boots Ennis is a fighter who has a lot of acclaim. To get to the next side, he needs big names, big money fights. We know he looks good. He's passing the eye test. He looks special. No Diddy, because I said he looks good. No Diddy on that. And we understand that. But the only way to get to the other side is to transition by fighting and having that coming of age type of fight. We've seen it with Oscar De La Hoya when he fought Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. We've seen it with Floyd Mayweather when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, right? You have to have that coming of age type of story where usually you have a dance partner that helps you ascend, and beating that dance partner will help your mission. We've seen it even with Gervonta Davis. When he fought Ryan Garcia, based on how big the fight, it doesn't matter what you think about Ryan Garcia. He is a good fighter and he was undefeated and he had the profile. So that was Gervonta Davis's like creme de la creme, like big fight where he hit over $1 million. Jaron Boots Ennis, fast forward to him, what is he gonna do? Because I just broke down the landscape. I don't care who's mad. I'm telling you what it is. And I'm telling you I'm the best in the business, and now I'm showing you. Matchroom has very little options for Jaron Ennis at 47. And then the options that maybe they do have, for whatever reason, the fights aren't getting made. Or people who are on the same side of the street, like Virgil Ortiz, like Boachuk, like Madrimov, like Conor Benn. You know, these are the only options. So with the belts, it's like the Infinity Stones from the Avengers. They're all spread out. To further illustrate this picture, shout out to my man. Please follow him on X, formerly known as Twitter. This is the homie, Dan the Boxing Man. Great account. Follow him. You see it on the screen. He posted pretty much a similar, it says the welterweight landscape, and it's a visual to help you guys understand, because y'all try to play dumb with Boxing Ego like I ain't the one, and I ain't got time for it. So this is a visual of the same thing. Matchroom, IBF belt, Top Rank, they got the WBO. This is their record, 32-0. Brian Norman's 23 years old with the 26-0 record. You got these guys with Premier Boxing Champs. So as you guys see, PBC has 2 of the 4 belts, and they have good fighters with only 2 losses between them. So when I say what I said about Boots teaming up with Eddie Hearn, I had questions, and now I still have questions, because it's cool to get paid more money per fight, but you got to think of the long term. The long term is, what are they going to do for you? What is the company going to do for you long term? Making a bit more per fight, that's cool. But who honestly wants to see Jaron Ennis versus Karen Chukadasian part 2? Period. I don't know many people. The first fight was trash. It wasn't. I have other fights from Jaron Ennis that I really enjoy, like the Villa fight. I really enjoyed the fight. The Dazian was like probably the Karen fight was probably his worst fight that I can recall ever watching. When he moved up to, I think, 54, the dude missed weight. That was a fun fight, right? A lot of first round stoppages and things like that with Thomas Delorme. The Chukadasian fight, it was just a negative style that Karen was fighting in. And then fast forward to the future, you tried to allegedly negotiate a fight between Brian Norman. Your promoter couldn't get it done. End result. And it sounds so stupid, because this would have been a good unification, although I think it would be a little bit premature, because neither guy has built the profile to make it a mega pay-per-view fight. But nonetheless, it would have been a good fight, right? That people would want to see, to have sparred before, etc. And your promoter couldn't get it done. Now they're talking about Ennis moving up to 54, which I doubt, because why would you wait till the purse bid? Why? Like, see, that's what I'm saying. It's like Eddie Hearn, it sounds like he's selling y'all a dream. Why would you wait till the purse bid is kicked on for the Karen Chukadasian fight, and now you're talking about moving up to 54 to fight other names like Boachuk and Madrimov? Makes no sense, because we already heard that Turkey wants Boachuk and Madrimov, because he liked their last performance, Virgil Ortiz and the Terrence Crawford fight. He wants them on cards that are going to be like October, November, December, like the Usyk card. So I highly, highly doubt that Jaron Ennis fights Boachuk next or Madrimov next. 2 guys who are technically coming off a loss. And I like those fights. I think they would be better, obviously, than Karen Chukadasian. But like I've said from the beginning, I think Boots fights Karen, period. And now you have fans who didn't want Boxing Ego to be right. They wanted me to be wrong, but not this time, Utah. It's looking suspect. It's looking shaky. Again, Jaron Ennis moved over with Eddie Hearn. You're getting paid more per fight. But to me, it looks like staying with Espinoza and staying with Showtime, you would have, as an American fighter, probably got some better looks. Truth be told, you probably would have got some better looks, because now the landscape has 2 of the 4 titleists and champions. And I highly doubt that PBC, when you're not working with them, they owe you nothing. It's not on PBC to appease Eddie Hearn or any fighter that doesn't work with them. So they're going to, in my opinion, I don't work for them, but in my opinion, they're going to worry about orchestrating their schedule, worry about putting together their cards, and those opportunities will probably go with in-house fighters first before anything else. Fans can cry, fans can scream duck and all this, but that's the way of the world. And it's no different. All promoters do this. If Top Rank has an in-house fight, then they're going to make the in-house fight. It's so easy to do. You're in control of both fighters. And fast forward to the future, people keep saying, oh, Norman's a duck and he turned down the Boots fight and blah, blah, blah. And now he's fighting on the undercard. Again, bums, dumb, short-sighted. He's fighting after becoming a champion on the undercard to Keyshawn Davis. That's the report. Not really a big deal, because that's just one fight. We heard strong rumors that they're trying to put, them being Top Rank, put together a Teofimo who plans on moving up to 47. As you see right here, Teofimo suggests Brian Norman at welterweight is next. Teo wants to move up. He's training right now with Canelo Alvarez. Payday, you want payday? I know that. So he's training, he's in shape, he's staying ready. So quiet as kept, Brian Norman is probably taking a stay busy type of fight on the Keyshawn card. And then after, I strongly believe that Top Rank, Bob Arum, Carl Moretti, and all them guys are going to try to make Teofimo move up to welterweight and fight their champion, Brian Norman Jr., who has the WBO. Meanwhile, who does Boots have? Who does Boots fight on Matchroom? That makes sense, because they're saying Crawford doesn't want to fight Boots because it's too risky, don't make sense. None of the other fights on DAZN, like Virgil Ortiz and Boots or Conor Benn, none of these fights are happening. So he's going to be fighting the likes of David Avanesian and Karen Chukni and then blaming it on the IBF. It's just, it's poor. And this does nothing for Boots. And there's some people, they're going to try to argue like, oh, PBC, they didn't give Boots the title belts and a shot at Errol. How brain dead are you? Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford was a fight that had been lingering on. It wouldn't have made any sense, because Boots was the mandatory, to stop the money fight that made over $20 million in the live gate and sold 600K, 700K pay-per-views. Hey, as a business, let's not make the fight that's more pressing, where Terrence Crawford's 36, 35, whatever. He's getting older, and we can make undisputed for Errol Spence to fight a mandatory who's on his way up, who has time to grow. However, I strongly believe if you play your part with PBC, those opportunities will come. But what's happening in social media is people aren't trying to wait for the opportunities. They want to be the lit guy ASAP. They want to be the star right now. I have a famous quote that a lot of people bit, but it came from me many, many years ago on the channel. I said, everybody wants to be Money Mayweather without going through the Pretty Boy Floyd stages. And that's exactly, I said this so many years ago, and you see it to this day still hold true. The social media and, wanting the bag and the fly cars and the whips and the drip is corrupting people's mind to the point where you have to understand it's a process. PBC in America, they for sure know that business. They know the business. They have the highest live gate out of any promoter that's active. They have, because they had Floyd. Floyd had, if you look at the top 10 highest grossing earning fights in boxing history, Floyd's all up and down the top 10 fights that involve Floyd. So the thing is, just like the universe, things don't happen on your time. They happen when they're supposed to happen. For example, I watched Mario Barrios. He had a super tough fight with the guy that fought Kenneth Sims, and his eye was messed up, right? This was in 2019. Keep in mind, I haven't really covered fights since the pandemic, because the pandemic is when I stopped going to the fights, right? So this was like 2019 when Errol Spence, it was on the Errol Spence, Sean Porter card in LA that I went to. And then they had David Benavidez versus Anthony Durrell. Barrios was on the undercard because the co-feature was David Benavidez, Anthony the Dog Durrell in LA. And he was in a title fight for an interim title. This is in 2019. We are about 5 months or so from the end of the year and it being 2025, right? So 2019 to about 2024. And now we're just now getting to the point where people are talking about Mario Barrios maybe fighting Manny Pacquiao, which is a huge opportunity. He's going to make some money if that fight happens, right? So we're talking about branding, a work in progress for 5 years of deliberate card placement for Barrios to keep getting the opportunities. Yes, he fought Gervonta Davis. Yes, he fought Keith Thurman, etc. But he was definitely the B-side. Now he's a champion. Pacquiao wants to be a champion again. So now he would probably be the kind of like the A side because he has the trinket, the belt to offer. So the point I'm making is, to build a star in America, it's at times a laborious and meticulous process. Gervonta Davis, I watched the man, like, legit. I've been covering boxing that long where I watched his ascension to greatness. He was on, at one point, Badu Jack's undercard fighting Pedraza. Fast forward to the future, when I went to his fight in Atlanta with Gamboa, you had Badu Jack fighting Jean Pascal on his undercard. So it took time, but then it was like Freaky Friday. Tank was the co-feature, and then he was the co-feature to Badu Jack. Fast forward to the future, Badu Jack is on his undercard, right? And now Tank keeps climbing and, you know, has the $1 million+ with Ryan Garcia, etc. So people like Boots, I feel like good fighters, but they're trying to take the shortcut. Like, oh, let me link up with Turkey and let me link up with Eddie Hearn and get more money per fight. But what are they going to do for the grand scheme of your career? What names can they provide? Eddie Hearn has a contemptuous relationship with Al Heyman and PBC. If you notice, many fights aren't occurring with PBC and Matchroom on Eddie's watch. The only ones that are like Berlanga, and that's because Canelo's working with PBC and Eddie Hearn just happens to have Berlanga, the guy that Canelo wants and needs, right? But make no mistake about it, just like Haney Garcia, that fight very well could and would take place without any involvement from Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn didn't make Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. Ryan, the A side, and Golden Boy allowed and selected Devin Haney, and Devin brought Eddie Hearn on board. But the fight, it wasn't, Eddie Hearn told you in the Andre Ward interview, he said we weren't like partners like that. I was just like a mentor and a second set of eyes and ears. But he said Devin didn't want a rehydration clause, him and his team. I told him they should, and then I didn't argue with it because they were kind of in charge. It wasn't a Matchroom show. So it's the same thing when it comes to this situation. Boots signed with Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn has no pull with PBC. And clearly he couldn't get the fight done with Top Rank, who has the other champion. So PBC has 2 champions and Top Rank has 1. All 3 champions, you're not getting any of the fights done. Eddie Hearn and Boots' side. And now it's just finger pointing and fans arguing on who's to blame. It doesn't change the end result. Boots needs the opponent. He needs the name. Doesn't really matter why the fight fell out. It matters that you don't have a fight. Now Boots is talking about moving to 54, but previously he said he wanted to stay right at 47 and campaign at 47 and unify and become undisputed. So I don't believe that he fights Boachuk or Madrimov next. I think it'll be Karen, right? Because of time and the placement, I think it'll be Karen. But even if I was wrong somehow, which doesn't happen often, but even if I was wrong and Boots vacates and moves to 54, this is going against what you said. You said you wanted to unify the division at 47, and then moving up to 54 is not doing that. So the bottom line is Boots jumped ship, went over, he left the people he was with, Showtime, Espinoza. He became free agent, could have signed to Al Heyman and PBC, who conveniently have 2 of the 4 belts now, and he needs one because obviously Boots can't fight himself. So he's 1 belt holder. So between PBC and Boots, if Boots would have signed with Al Heyman, it would be 3 belts on the PBC side when he became a free agent. If he had signed to Al Heyman, they would have 3 belts out of the 4, and Top Rank and Brian Norman would be the black sheep, right? So it would be similar to when PBC had Errol Spence, Ugas, Sean Porter, and they had most of the belts except for Terrence Crawford. But because Boots and his dad decided to team up with Eddie Hearn to get more money per fight, not necessarily thinking about the long term, it's caused the welterweight division to be more fragmented. And now the belts, or the Infinity Stones, are a bit more split. And each promoter has at least 1 belt, PBC having the most of the 4 belts on their side. So again, I fully expect, I don't work for PBC, I'm just telling you my opinion. I expect either Barrios to fight whoever, maybe Pacquiao, Stanionis probably a stay busy fight or whatever, but the winner of those fights will probably unify in 2025. Meanwhile, who is Eddie Hearn gonna get Boots? Just saying he's the bogeyman or whatever they say in the UK instead of saying boogeyman, that's not enough. No one cares. You can say he's the boogeyman. It's 2024. There's countless things to do. There's free entertainment. No one cares about like, oh, I'm just so avoided. And it's so funny because you got Shakur Stevenson. They're saying he's getting $5 million. Eddie Hearn, I understand, has stated that's not the case. But nonetheless, he's getting a lot of money to fight a fight no one even wants to see happen. Like the fact that you would even pay Shakur millions for Joe Cordina coming off of a loss and moving up in weight shows me that the strategy is not really meticulously thought out, because Boots is the guy who has the style, the look, the combinations, the speed. I would put all my egg if I could work with Shakur. I'm not saying in no disrespectful way, but I'm just being real. As a business, you got to think about the business. You could work with Shakur and likely have to overpay him for his name and whatnot, put him in a bad fight and put him on the better be of Bevo card, which is happening on ESPN Plus, which is pretty stupid. Hey, let's get this DAZN pay-per-view with Shakur and Cordina under, but Americans can't watch the main event, which is far better than any other fight on that card. That's some UK card. Nobody in America care about that card. And it's coming on super early for Americans. You rather throw millions at Shakur instead of paying Brian Norman $300K more than what you offer, $500K more. This doesn't make sense to me. And you guys said Boots signing with Eddie Hearn was brilliant. So you made your bed, lying it. We'll see what Boots gets next.